one of the largest predatory fish on Earth, bloodthirsty orcas for which there are no obstacles, and a dominant sea monster from the past. In this episode, you'll see these and other creepiest creatures in the history of the ocean. Let's go! Great white shark. Everyone knows this character from the 1975 Jaws movie. The great white shark is one of the largest predatory fish in the world. Females are larger than males and on average grow up to 15 to 16 feet in length. Although in history there have been cases when people encountered 20-foot-long individuals weighing about 2 tons. It's believed that for people it's great white sharks that are the most dangerous because they have the largest number of attacks on their conscience. And this is despite the fact that the species is actually in an unenviable position. There are only about 3,500 individuals left in the wild. They swim in the upper layer of water but can sometimes dive 3,200 feet underwater. Great white sharks, like no one else, feel even the smallest drop of blood in the water, because of which they're ready to instantly overcome hundreds of feet and catch up with a wounded prey. At the same time, the predators themselves rarely become prey to other fish. It's all about their stunning coloration. The back and head have a dark gray color. This allows the shark to remain undetected for prey swimming overhead, as its dark shadow kind of dissolves in the dark blue water. The underside of the oblong body is light-colored. Looking at the shark from below, one realizes that the light-colored belly allows it to get lost at the surface of the water against the light sky. Thus, it's difficult to see it from above or below. Anyway, even if someone spots a great white shark in the water, would they have the guts to attack it? Have you seen these teeth? People have found 2.3-inch long teeth of the great white shark, and there are hundreds of them in its mouth. At the same time, the bite force with which this creature clenches its jaws is equal to several tons, or 18,000 newtons, which makes its bite one of the most powerful in nature. But don't rush to give the title of the strongest creature in the ocean to the great white shark, because that would simply be a lie. At least as long as orcas swim on the same planet with great white sharks. At first glance, these cetaceans seem completely safe because they look like cute dolphins. Maybe orcas are the same, kind as dolphins, cute and compassionate? Not at all. These creatures are recognized as the only true predators among whales that can chase warm-blooded animals. In addition, they are the largest carnivorous dolphins. Males can reach 33 feet in length and weigh up to 8 tons. Scientists say that in the world of orcas, representatives of their species are divided into 2 types. The first is the shy orcas. They find a mate, have babies, and live happily, choosing a quiet way of life and searching for small fish and cephalopods. As for the second type, I'll tell you that I wish it didn't exist. I'd call them nomad orcas or killer orcas. These cetaceans form complete groups and they always prey on someone. And this is not an ordinary hunt, as it happens in the case of some wild dogs or birds. Orcas have everything thought out: the place, the position of each other, the role they play, and why they swim here. They're smart enough to throw their prey off a huge ice floe or attack a ship with people. But the worst thing about it is that, among other things, they love to play with the prey, constantly chasing it and making it swim faster. In general, they make it so that it's completely exhausted, but think that it has a chance to survive. In fact, there's no chance at all, and the orca simply hones its hunting skills in this way. And talking about their bite force is even scarier. According to some reports, it exceeds 84,000 newtons, which is almost 5 times more than that of great white sharks. Encounters with orcas can be avoided. Although they're great hunters, it shouldn't be too difficult to spot them in clear water, especially if you're sailing on a well-equipped ship with some sensors. However, if the creature's smaller and at the same time has a great camouflage, things will get much worse. And that's exactly the story of the stonefish. It's a marine predatory fish with venomous spines on its back that lives on the bottom near coral reefs and pretends to be a rock. It's officially considered the most venomous fish in the world. The stonefish grows up to 16 inches in length, has a large head and small eyes, with a rather tiny mouth. But who cares what it looks like if its whole body's covered with warts and bumps? Actually, that's why it got another name, the wartfish. Because of this peculiarity, the fish is not used to show itself in public. No, not because it's shy of someone, not at all. It's just that the stonefish prefers not to waste extra energy. It's confident that the prey will swim into its mouth. It burrows into the sand, and only a faintly visible part of the head and back remains visible from above. It's almost impossible to spot a stonefish. But as soon as someone swims past it, it will quickly suck the prey into its bottomless mouth. Besides, if suddenly a person accidentally steps on a hidden stonefish, they'll need to get medical help as soon as possible. The venom causes severe pain with possible shock, paralysis, and tissue death. Sea wasp. Since we've touched on the topic of venom and toxicity, it's worth telling you about the sea wasp. It's a creature of the box jellyfish class that has one of the most powerful venoms on the planet. Its stings are officially proven to cause severe pain, and the power of its toxin is enough to finish off 60 people in 3 minutes. It's believed that in the last 100 years, the sea wasp has killed at least 100 people. And yet, this jellyfish seems completely harmless at first glance. It has a round, typical bell, not exceeding 18 inches in diameter. The sea wasp tentacles are divided into 4 zones, each of which has 15 thin tentacles. During swimming, they shrink and reach a length of about 16 inches. Seems like nothing unusual either, right? But when the sea wasp goes into hunting mode, the tentacles begin to stretch as much as 5 feet. Despite the fact that they become insanely long, it's almost impossible to see them in the water. The tentacles, just like the jellyfish itself, are transparent, or at least pale blue. Although many creatures in the world oceans are venomous, the predators that eat them have a natural resistance to toxins. At least they don't suffer if they eat something venomous. And that's where the top of the food chain should be occupied by someone that's bigger and at the same time more voracious than the rest. I think Megalodon is the perfect candidate for this position. First of all, the extinct shark was insanely large, twice or even 3 times the size of the great white shark. Secondly, the length of its teeth could reach 8 inches, and the shark itself weighed about 40 tons. The bite force was also not bad, exceeding 100,000 newtons. It seems that if the creature was so great, it must have been a rare guest in the world ocean, otherwise there would be eternal chaos. But this isn't the case. The fossils show that Megalodon was common and numerous. It was a top predator that was at the top of the food chain before the appearance of stronger and smarter creatures. Did someone say stronger and smarter? I'm here, Leviathan Milvelli answered, and confidently took the leading position among the most dangerous creatures. For the first time, the remains of this monster were discovered only in 2008 in Peru. The find was a 10-foot-long skull. Earlier, it was believed that this creature was almost the largest in history, and now it's inferior even to modern sperm whales in size. But as it turned out, in the case of Leviathan, size didn't matter. It was still feared by any more or less sane marine inhabitant, and all thanks to its various advantages. Mega teeth were the first argument for not messing with Leviathan Milvelli. Its upper fangs reached 14 inches in length and 5 inches in diameter. In addition to its teeth, the predator also got powerful jaws that allowed it to literally tear off pieces of flesh of the enemy. Besides, it has a giant spermaceti organ. This is the organ that enables dolphins, orcas, and other cetaceans to echolocate. It picks up sound signals like radar. So all cetaceans see the picture as a 3-dimensional projection. So there was no escape from this sea creature, no matter where prehistoric animals hid. Other animals also did not forgive the mistakes of their opponents, and it's the mosasaur. This tyrant of the seas could even deal with other giants that were larger than it. The secret of its skill was in sharp teeth and high maneuverability uncommon to others. Those who were larger than the mosasaur didn't have time to fight back, and it was almost impossible for them to swim away because the mosasaur was always one step ahead. By the way, this was one of the few predators that had the strength and desire to catch even birds. Feeling that the guest from the sky landed on the water to quench its thirst, the mosasaur made a quick dash and deprived the enemy of the ability to fly with one bite. And then it was just a matter of skills. It was almost impossible to escape from this giant monster. And now I'll show you ferocious sharks attacking everything. There are many dangerous sharks in the waters of the Mexican island of Guadalupe, and one of them we're seeing right now. Divers dived into the water in a cage to check out the predators at close range. A great white shark is circling right next to their cage. It doesn't seem to be anything dangerous, but suddenly it decides to attack the cage. It sticks its snout between the bars and bites them. Unfortunately for it, the bars were too strong. I must say, that cage was well designed, unlike this one. Here the gaps were too big, so much so that the shark almost half made its way to the divers. They had to retreat quickly and hid in the far corner. Fortunately, the shark didn't do anything to them, but only hurt itself. Steering out to a shark-infested sea in an inflatable boat is a fool's errand. After all, shark teeth and jaws are real weapons that can deal with inflatable boats in no time. And here's the bite itself. A great white shark attacked the boat and began to sink its teeth into it with all its might. The sailors had to swim urgently to shore before the shark would sink their boat. As you can see at the end of the video, the damage was serious. The boat would have to be repaired. But even if the boat's not inflatable, that doesn't mean that it's safe. Here we see a shark attacking a large motorboat. It sinks its teeth into it and tries to chew off a part of it. What's even creepier is that this part of the cage with the divers, who now risk swimming away into the open sea together with the predator. They're filming everything that's happening from their position. Considering that the video was posted on the internet, the shark was never able to do anything, but it all looked tense and creepy. I would not want to be in a similar situation. According to the authors of the following video, they were swimming calmly off the coast of Australia and Tasmania and watching seals. Everything looked calm and nothing foretold troubles, when suddenly a great white shark rammed the boat. It damaged the front part of the boat, and the tourists had to get away. At that moment, the shark showed up again and momentarily jumped out of the water. Good thing the boat was fast, otherwise the shark would have caught up with it and finished the job. A boat is great, of course, but it doesn't guarantee safety, especially if you're overboard and your friends, who like to joke, won't let you get back on board. This guy had a hard time. He protected from the shark with a cage while it tried to attack him and the boat. By the way, it was a tiger shark, yes, that one, which is amongst the most dangerous sharks in the world. But on that day, it did not get a point in its bloodthirsty statistics. The protagonist of the video successfully climbed back onto the boat at the end. It's one thing when sharks ram the side or bite the base of boats, and it's quite another when they literally end up on board. This formidable mako shark jumped out of the water so hard that it got stuck in the board railing. The wounded shark is still bloodthirsty. It tries its best to get out and stay on the boat to hurt everyone present, but it failed that day. Many people would not have even touched such a monster and waited until it suffocated, but the people on the boat turned out to be good-natured. They tied a rope to the tail of the mako and lowered the shark into the water. In general, mako sharks are famous for their epic jumps. These creatures are much more likely to end up on boats than get stuck in railings. See for yourself. The fishermen in this video were fishing, but the fish decided to come to their hands itself. A mako shark jumped high out of the water and flew at full speed onto the deck, hitting the fisherman. Good thing that was the end of it. Like the sharks from the previous clip, this one was rescued. It was soon returned to the water. This fisherman decided to spend some time at sea fishing. He was sitting quietly with a fishing rod on his green kayak when suddenly a shark decided to attack him. Apparently, it didn't like the fact that he was fishing for its prey. He tried to throw the shark off but ended up unbalanced and fell to the shark. Luckily, it didn't look like the Jaws movie. The man dropped and left everything and swam to a boat nearby, thus saving his life. And finally, I suggest you take a look at how sharks behave at great depths, where ordinary divers won't find them. You have to use a submarine for that, as these scientists did. They managed to get unique footage of blunt-nosed six-gill sharks in their native habitat. But the sharks themselves didn't like this invasion of their privacy. One of them attacked the submarine and rammed it a bit. Of course, it did no damage, but the scientists had a great experience. And here are the other deep-sea sharks. They don't just swim, but also hunt their prey. And one of the sharks swam literally right up to the scientists. They were separated only by the thick glass of the submarine. The shark looked hostile at the scientists and swam away to go about its business. I think that's enough sharks for today. Now I'll show you the rarest animal fights caught on camera. Pandas. We'll put the crocodile aside for now, let it gain strength for the fight, and we'll watch the panda fight. It's quite rare. I don't think many of you have seen these plush and fat bears fight each other. It's hard to believe. It seems all they do is sleep, eat bamboo, and roll on the ground in a funny way. But after all, pandas are bears, which means that these predators are endowed with strength and aggression. These pandas put up a fight in some wildlife sanctuary. Their fighting style is typically bearish. The pandas stand on their hind legs, wrestle, and hit each other with their paws. And yet, what distinguishes them from brown bears' fights is their clumsiness. After the fall, the pandas tumble and roll in a funny way. It's hard to call this fight fierce, it rather makes you smile. And here's another battle of the black and white plush creatures. Pandas from China's Sichuan province decided to fight each other at night so as to not be seen by tourists. But they were caught on camera. In general, it's the same as in the previous video, fighting, pawing, and rolling. But to be fair, this conflict looks more serious. The bears are more determined. It looks like they had a real fight. Giraffes. Let's look at another creature that's considered cute and harmless. This is generally true. Giraffes rarely clash and try to stay neutral, but they do put up some real fights with each other. These two creatures demonstrate typical giraffe fighting techniques. They can't kick each other, so they use their necks. The main task is to swing and hit the opponent hard. The task of the opponent is to dodge and strike back. The giraffe, which is closer to us, looks better, although it missed a hard punch and lost the first round, and then it started to win back quickly. It skillfully dodged its opponent's neck hooks and uppercuts and counterattacked. The giraffe became more and more active, and finally it dodged, knocked the opponent down, and tangentially knocked it out. This fight was even more spectacular than many fights in the UFC. Crocodile and snake. Now it's the crocodile's turn. As I said at the beginning, these animals are strong, but all their strength seems to be lost when confronted by an anaconda. This reptile is huge, it's very long and heavy. In addition, it has an incredible grip and mercilessly squeezes its opponents. Look at this crocodile in the river. This thick anaconda wrapped itself around it and completely immobilized it. This toothy creature is definitely finished. There's no way out of this position. It's doomed. And here's another couple of opponents. Here we see exactly how the anaconda wraps itself around the crocodile. By the way, this is the caiman, an extremely dangerous South American reptile, which at times can even defeat the jaguar. But if the caiman falls into the powerful grip of the anaconda, it's doomed. The huge snake wraps itself around the caiman. Though the caiman struggles to fight back and bite the reptile, it fails. In just a few minutes, this predator will become the dinner of the hungry anaconda. Anteater and dog. Next, we have not really a battle, but rather a confrontation. It's interesting, though. It's not every day you see a dog fighting an anteater. This, by the way, is a southern tamandua from South America. And yes, as you've already noticed, its main feature is a funny defense. When the dog barks and tries to approach the anteater, it spreads its forelimbs and scowls. However, several times the anteater dropped down on all four limbs and jerked a little toward the aggressive dog. By the middle of the conflict, the dog got the taste and even successfully brought the anteater down, but it continued to defend itself and didn't attack the dog. I must say, this is only good for the dog. Don't think that because the anteater's so small it wouldn't do anything to the dog. The claws of these animals can reach 4 inches in length. They're very sharp, and the anteater's blows are fast. With one fast blow, the anteater can make a very deep cut. If the anteater had wanted to, the dog would have died of blood loss, but fortunately, everyone remained unharmed. Usually when we talk about a fight involving a snake, we imagine a snake strangling someone, breaking someone, or striking someone with venom. This fight also involves a snake, but there's a nuance. Here, it's in the role of a prey and even a toy. Look at the seagulls fighting over the snake on the seashore. Two birds have it in their beaks and tug at it like a rope. No one wants to let go of the prey, so as soon as the snake falls, they pick it up. Soon other seagulls join in. It's unknown exactly which seagull got the prey, but it seems to me that the snake was definitely eaten that day. Leopards. Fighting between leopards is nothing new. These cats often fight over territory, prey, or females. Here, a tourist was able to film the fight for the female. Two powerful cats clashed and began to fight on the ground. Each of them firmly held the opponent and tried to wrestle and move in order to take a more comfortable position. But what was so interesting about this battle? The fact the female that the males were fighting for intervened. It approached the fighters, waited a bit, and then decided to break up the fight. The males got distracted and stopped the fight. One of the leopards even went into the direction of the female that ran away. It did all right. It was fighting for this very female after all. Was it all for nothing? Let's take a look at Africa's other big cats, the majestic lions. They too can fight over territory, food, or females, but unlike solitary leopards, they can also fight older lions. This is how they drive them out of their pride. In this footage, we see just such a brutal exile ceremony. The two younger brothers lashed out at the older one to take away its title of head of the pride. They bit it severely. It could hardly fight back. The wounded lion was breathing heavily. The brothers beat and left it in the middle of the savannah. And now it would have to leave the pride and wander alone in Africa. But that didn't last long. According to the author of the video, a week later, this lion fell in battle with members of another pride. The animal world is cruel. Unfortunately, it's not uncommon there. In Africa, you can see a battle of lions, and somewhere in the Urals, Russia, you can see a battle of elks. And it would be fine if it took place in the forest, but no, the battle unfolds right in the courtyard of an apartment building. One of the tenants filmed how the horned giants came to visit people. At first, they were just minding their own business, strolling and rubbing their horns against the tree. But suddenly a conflict broke out between them. The elks started to fight with each other, literally in a second. The elk that stood farther away took the lead. It pushed its congener onto the road, and when it came back, it turned it around. They wrestled some more, and then the favorite elk pushed its opponent onto the car. Even the car alarm went off. This infuriated the elk, and now it itself began to push actively. The rest of the time, the elks just pushed and wrestled, but at the end, one of the elks sealed its victory by knocking its opponent down and starting to push and butt it from behind. Cranes and bear. It seems that there's already a spoiler in the title itself. Can a crane do anything against a huge bear, the owner of the forest and a dangerous predator? Sure it can, when it comes to protection of the offspring. The sandhill cranes occupied the territory near the river where they raised their chicks. Life was going on until a black bear, also known as a barabal, came to visit them. It swam across the river and began to approach the cranes. It's not known exactly what it wanted, but one of the birds decided not to risk it. The crane approached the bear and scared it away. The bear almost climbed the tree out of fear. The crane spread its wings, and the bear became frightened again. The predator decided to trick the bird and go around the stone and sneak up on the chicks, but the crane's not stupid. It flew onto the stone and frightened the predator again. This time it even climbed the tree. But the bear didn't stop. Then the crane began to push the enemy and finally drove it away from the territory, protecting its family. It's amazing how just one fragile crane could fight back a large predator. I'm sure you've hardly ever seen a confrontation between a bear and a crane before. And what about the conflict between hamsters? I understand that's a whole other level, but still, have you ever seen them sort things out? If not, watch this. One hamster was running in the wheel, and the other hamster was trying to stop it. Either it wanted to run itself or it wanted to play with the runner. It even managed to get inside, but it ended up flying out. At some point, a fight broke out. There's nothing fierce here. The rodents just fought a little, giving us unusual footage. But this footage is much more unusual. No, these are not two mutant hamsters, but capybaras, the largest rodents on the planet. They're generally kind, but they can put up a fight amongst themselves. Their battle is somewhat similar to the battle of the bears. Capybaras clinch fight and try to bite each other. One of the rodents gets out of the pool and glares angrily at his opponent. The fight soon continues. They enter the clinch again and try to bite each other. This time the attempts are more aggressive and successful. Pause again and clash again. The unusual confrontation ends near the bench. The large rodents seem to have called a truce. That's all, guys. Which battle did you like the most? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you later.